Okay, so this is going to be a response to Joshua Feuerstein and his challenge to disprove God. Hope you're ready to fork over $100,000. God is a human concept. This is proven by the fact that we have many different mythological constructs from different social, cultural systems. This ranges from North American, Native American, Indian tribes, Indian tribes, the Chinese, the Japanese, African tribes, isolated tribes throughout all the world, and of course major cultures, Western European, North American subgroups, and so forth. If we were to look at the history of mythological gods, you can see a pattern emerge. Some of the earliest religions that we can read about had thousands of gods for everything, from your livestock to the plants and animals and nature, to why the stars move, why there is a moon, what the sun is, and so forth. As we progress through history and more things are understood from a logical perspective, the gods that governed them disappeared. That is why we went from around 60 gods in the Greek pantheon down to about 12, and then 8, and then 4. Same thing happened with the other gods that existed, such as the Norse gods in that pantheon structure. In fact, almost every single different religion that revolves around gods have conglomerated those gods as they've evolved and learned and taken on scientific methodology. So much so that we have now resolved almost every single thing that God, quote unquote, is responsible for, except for the concept of an afterlife. Now, let's define evidence for a moment. Evidence is something that is testable, falsifiable, physically capable of being observed. One's personal views, beliefs, and anecdotes do not constitute evidence. One of the biggest arguments against God is the fact that science has proven pretty much everything God is responsible for. Of course, most Christians don't want to believe that, and they kind of stick to their dogma. The truth is, though, is that eventually God will disappear from our culture altogether. He'll be treated like a mythos. Arguably, and more interestingly, is the fact that the God of the Christian religion and the Islamic religion, the Judaist religion, they all are shared. They're all the same God, and they're all based on earlier variants of soul or sun gods. Historical evidence even shows this, and there's many different articles and studies that exist that you can read online. I suggest you start using scholar.google.com. It might help you understand a few things. But the fact is that God does not exist. There is no actual physical, testable, falsifiable, and confirmable evidence for God. Every single thing attributed to God is actually explainable by other things. Different factors in the environment, different processes that may not be readily observable but are there. God is a human concept derived from our need to explain things, our need to see patterns, and our evolved nature to see patterns. And when we don't understand things, we tend, through social processes, to attribute those things to things that we can't see. And we create gods to explain that which we don't understand. That's how our past cultures worked. That's how our present culture works. We like to attribute, apparent miraculous saving from an accident, or money coming into our possession that we didn't think we were going to have, that we needed, as something from God, a gift from God. But in reality, it's just factors that exist. Factors and processes and inevitabilities and probabilities, mathematical certainties that can all be crunched and calculated and determined if one really took the time. Of course, there are many factors that are outside of our purview. There are things that we can't control. Every single person, every single environmental event plays some type of role that exists and affects people in a different way. It is a menagerie of factors that we create for ourselves through our own actions. Simply put, we cannot use God or mythology or religion or beliefs and faith and things that we can't prove as the basis for reality. Technically speaking, I don't have to prove God doesn't exist because there is no evidence. The very fact that there is nothing that exists on this planet right now, or in this universe right now, that actually proves God exists. Nothing. Nada. Not a single thing in any of your videos has ever shown God to exist other than your belief in God. Now, I will give you one proof that shows God does exist. God exists as a concept in your head and in the heads of millions of people. Billions of people, actually. Every single person has their own idea of what God is. And unfortunately for you, every single person's interpretation of God does not necessarily mesh up with your own personal beliefs. Which means that the God that you believe in is unique to you and is not the only God. In fact, Christianity is the greatest polytheistic construction ever because every single person has their own belief of what God is. Not only that, but of course the mythos is based off a trinity. Which means it's not a single God as you'd like to think, but three gods. So, I expect $100,000 in my mail here in the next couple of days. Addresses, you can email me at ld.martin.writer@gmail.com if you want to get my address. Okay, thanks. Chris Martin out.